Imagine that you lived the greatest miracle in world history. You saw an angel, felt the impossible happen within you, and raised a son who divided human history into before and after. And after all that, the book simply stops talking about you. No explanation, no farewell, no recorded funeral, no epitaph. This is exactly what happens with Mary, the mother of Jesus, in the Bible. The last verse that mentions her is in Acts chapter 1, and after that moment there is absolute silence. What happened to her? Was she forgotten by the very disciples of the Son she raised? Or is there something much deeper behind this silence? Today, we are stepping into those dusty backstories. To understand the silence at the end, you need to understand who Mary was at the beginning. Feel the dry air of the first century in Nazareth, a city so small and irrelevant that it provoked mockery and the question of whether anything good could come from there. Mary was no one special in the eyes of the world. She was a young Jewish girl, likely between 12 and 16 years old, betrothed to a carpenter named Joseph. The Bible gives us no last name, no description of her appearance. It doesn't tell us if she was tall or short, eloquent or shy. Then the angel Gabriel appears in a scene described with impressive restraint. No thunder, no earthquakes, just a voice and an announcement that would irreversibly change the fate of that girl from Nazareth. What reveals her true mental strength is that Mary's reaction is not one of ecstasy or emotional weeping. It is one of reasoning. She asks a purely logical question about how this would happen, since she did not know a man. She doesn't doubt, she wants to understand. With few words, she accepts the weight of a miraculous pregnancy that would put her honor at risk and could cost her life by stoning. Imagine the weight of carrying a secret that the world is trying to kill. For 30 years, Mary lived in the quiet shadows of Nazareth, watching the boy who played in the sawdust of Joseph's workshop grow into the man who would shake the foundations of the Roman Empire. But as the public ministry of Jesus begins, we see a subtle but painful shift. The mother who once held him in her arms must now learn to follow him from a distance. Can you feel the internal conflict of a woman who knows his divinity but cannot stop her heart from aching with maternal instinct? At the wedding in Cana, she nudges him, perhaps hoping for a sign, only to be reminded that his hour had not yet come. This is the beginning of her fading out, a deliberate step into the background so that his light can shine brighter. However, the silence of the Bible isn't just about her stepping back. It's about the sword that Simeon prophesied would pierce her soul. Fast forward to the foot of the cross. The air is thick with the smell of iron and sweat. The sky is an unnatural shade of bruised purple, and the ground vibrates with the screams of the dying. While others fled, Mary stood. She didn't just watch a Messiah die, she watched her firstborn bleed. In that moment of agonizing grief, Jesus looks down and performs a final act of domestic care. He entrusts her to the beloved disciple, John. "Woman, behold your son." This moment is the pivot. Historically, according to the atmosphere, described by writers like Flavius Josephus, Jerusalem was a powder keg of rebellion and religious zeal. For a mother of a condemned king of the Jews, staying in the city was a death sentence. Yet, she remains. Why? Because her mission had shifted from protecting his body to witnessing his spirit. The silence starts here, not as an absence, but as a protective shroud over the woman who held the memories of his first breaths. Imagine the suffocating heat of a locked room in Jerusalem, 50 days after the resurrection. The air is heavy with the smell of burning olive oil lamps and the quiet, anxious whispers of men and women hiding from the temple guards. Open the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 14. It reads, "These all continued with one accord in prayer and supplication, with the women and Mary the mother of Jesus, and with his brethren." This is her final biblical appearance. But look closely at the profound shift hidden in plain sight. She is no longer introduced as the central protagonist of a nativity story. She is listed simply as one of the praying believers. How difficult must it be to surrender your unique title and become just another face in the crowd? For over 30 years, her identity was entirely defined by being his mother. She fed him, bathed him, and taught him his first Aramaic words. Yet, in that upper room, Mary does the unimaginable. She steps down from the pedestal of motherhood to sit on the floor of discipleship. The original Greek text uses the word proskarterounce, meaning a steadfast, persistent, and quiet devotion. She wasn't demanding a leadership position. She wasn't dictating the theology of the early church based on her exclusive biological connection. She was simply praying alongside uneducated fishermen, former tax collectors, and her own converted sons. This behind-the-scenes detail reveals a staggering psychological and spiritual maturity. In a first-century patriarchal society where a widow's worth was deeply tied to her firstborn son, losing him could have meant losing her entire social standing and security. She could have leveraged her status, demanding the apostles treat her as a living relic or a queen mother. Instead, she chose the deliberate silence of submission. The silence we see in the rest of the New Testament isn't erasure. It is her ultimate teaching. It is the practical example that true authority is not about maintaining the spotlight, but about empowering others to carry the message forward. Imagine living in a world where noise is the most valuable currency. Today, we are constantly taught that if we are not seen, we do not exist. We measure our value by applause, public recognition, and the number of times our name is mentioned in a room. But Mary's silence directly challenges this modern obsession with visibility. Think about this with profound clarity. The woman who carried the Savior of humanity in her womb decided that her greatest contribution after the resurrection would not be speaking or leading rallies, but praying in absolute obscurity. How do we apply this principle in our daily lives? Every day we face the exhausting temptation to prove our worth. When we make an immense sacrifice for our children, work hard behind the scenes of a complex project, or help someone who can never thank us. In those moments, our ego screams for recognition. We want the credit. We want people to know the exact price we paid. Mary, however, teaches us a nearly forgotten spiritual and psychological discipline, the art of being invisible, yet absolutely essential. She understood that she didn't need to defend her legacy, because her legacy wasn't a temporary title, it was an eternal person. In real life, the greatest impact you will have will likely happen in the anonymity of silence. The mothers who wake up in the middle of the night, exhausted, to care for sick children. The parents who carry heavy burdens without ever complaining. The friends who intercede for us when the spotlights go out. None of them will have their names carved in marble or written in great history books. But, like Mary, they are the silent foundation upon which the true stories of redemption are built. The silence of the New Testament regarding Mary is not a void, it is a powerful echo. It is a practical reminder that when you have true clarity of your identity, the need for public approval vanishes. The question we must ask ourselves is not, how can I be more noticed? But rather, what am I building in the silence that will endure long after my own name? Imagine the last years of this extraordinary woman. Historical tradition and ancient records suggest that Mary lived the rest of her days in the ancient city of Ephesus under the constant care of the Apostle John. Visualize an elderly lady, her face marked by wrinkles, carved by the merciless Mediterranean sun and the unnameable storms of life. The hands that once cradled the creator of the universe in a manger now fragile and calloused rest gently on her lap as she watches the sunset. She did not demand a palace. She did not found a dynasty in her own name. She did not demand that the evangelists dedicate entire scrolls to her personal biography. Mary's disappearance from the sacred scriptures is, in truth, her final masterpiece. She chose to decrease so that his light could shine exclusively. The biblical silence surrounding her from Acts 1 onward is not a tragic erasure or an oversight, but the highest level of human and spiritual maturity someone can reach. Knowing that your mission was accomplished with such perfection that your own ego no longer needs applause. Her initial yes continues to echo on every page of the New Testament, even when her name is physically absent. Mary's silent strength is there, invisible, but inseparable from the message of love that transformed humanity. Today, we live in a world desperate to leave a legacy and have our names shouted from the rooftops. But Mary teaches us, through her majestic silence, that the most powerful legacy is not the one where everyone idolizes our name, but the one where our secret sacrifice continues to generate hope long after we leave the stage. If this story touched your soul and made you see the silent greatness of Mary with new eyes, I truly want to hear your perspective. What do you think was more challenging for her, enduring the pain of the cross or embracing anonymity in the years that followed? Leave your opinion or question in the comments below, and please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your subscription is vital for us to continue uncovering the fascinating backstories of biblical history together.